I call the member for Moreton.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I'm happy to talk on this MPI put in by the member for Chifley. And I should say up front that I'm a proud member of the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union.
Nice.
Why am I part of the AMWU? Because I imagine how great Australia could be if we made more things.
Yeah.
And let's look at some facts, and it was touched on by the member for Chifley, avoided by the minister in his speech. But since the coalition took office, there are 90,000 fewer jobs in Australian manufacturing. So let's just strip it all down. Fine words flying around from that side of the chamber. He took us on a tour of Hinkler and the surrounds, but 90,000 fewer jobs in Australian manufacturing since those geniuses opposite. You know, look at some of the things that they actually did. Not their words, but they did. They dared car manufacturers to leave, and they did. A Victorian making an interjection about the car manufacturers leaving, and they did. And it took a pandemic for them to actually wake up to how important Australian core capabilities are. Because I, as a member of the AMWU, as a member of the Labor Party that cares about jobs, we do imagine what Australia would be like. We can think big, like the big Australian member, BHP, thinking big in terms of being a bold and successful manufacturing sector. We believed that before the pandemic. We believed that in terms of producing, marketing and value-adding to our food and fibre, value-adding to the things we dig out of the ground, value-adding before we send it overseas. But what do we have from those offers? The I don't hold a hose gang. The I don't hold a hose gang. They're happy to put out a brochure with a picture of a hose. Yeah, happy to send that out to people. Happy to get some consultants to take a photo of a hose that they can market test with a few people and then send out to people. Well, I want to be a part of a party where we have a leader that will hold the hose, will go towards the flame and say we believe in manufacturing. We believe in actually having an Australia that makes things. And our leader believed that before the pandemic hit. We know from their own figures, from the minister's own figures, that the Department of Industry's own estimates indicate 50,000 Australian manufacturing jobs lost last year. And what else is that extra little cherry on that rancid cake is the idea that there'll be a cut to real wages for Australian manufacturing workers of $7,800. So they talk about the great brochures that they've got with hoses, but when it comes to actually helping Australian manufacturers, they're missing. I know that this Prime Minister is the king of the photo opportunity. He will do anything to get into a photo op, to look like he is doing something. I even remember him turning up at a manufacturing plant in 2019. Unfortunately, it was a manufacturing plant in the United States. Whoops. In fact, it was during an election campaign. A serving Australian Prime Minister stood beside a campaigning presidential candidate, Donald Trump, where the former president told 1,500 Trump supporters that he was bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Our Prime Minister standing next to a campaigning US presidential candidate. Unbelievable in terms of diplomatic nous, especially when that guy turned out to be the loser and the Democratic candidate is now President Biden. President Biden, to see an Australian Prime Minister, I don't think that's ever happened before. I assume that the advancer was sacked on the spot for putting an Australian Prime Minister in the middle of a US presidential campaign. Unbelievable. But let's look at what manufacturing really can deliver in terms of sovereign capability. We know that the Morrison government has spent $5.9 million more on consultant fees than the actual mRNA vaccine manufacturer. Can you believe that? During a pandemic,
with them I can.
They start up. We'll do some manufacturing. Let's get some brochures out. Let's get the consultants out there. The Morrison government has used manufacturing to do what it's best, to announce and re-announce and then announce again the same money. All the while, what else did they do? They picked a fight with our #1 trading partner. where we actually can sell some products. This government is a complete disaster for manufacturing jobs.